Welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm Kathleen Walter. Joining us now via Skype from Big Fork, Montana is General Paul Vallely. General Vallely served in the Vietnam War and retired in 1992 as Deputy Commanding General, Pacific Command. He is also the co-author of the book Endgame, the Blueprint for Victory in the War on Terror. And General Vallely, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Kathleen. Glad to join Newsmax again.
Well, thank you for being with us. I want to get your take on the Chuck Hagel nomination, but first we learned today that the Obama administration is ramping up gun control proposals for legislation and executive action that the president can sign into law without lawmakers' approval. As you know, the president called on Congress to reinstate a ban on assault weapons. Is such a ban necessary in your view, or is there a war right now on the Second Amendment, as some say?
Well, I think number one, this administration does have a war on the Second Amendment and the rights of gun owners in the United States. And I think any type of instances that happened, within the last year, of course, they go right to the gun owners, who for the most part are all very patriotic citizens of America. They use them for hunting. They use them for protection. We have probably more stories of gun owners that have protected their families than we do of these incidents that we have seen most recently. And I think it's important to notice it's not a gun problem. It's the people who use them, and usually people that have some kind of mental condition, whether it be depression or they've been on drugs or something. So that's where the real problem is. It's not in the guns.
So, General, as a nation, what can we do in the wake of a series of these mass shootings?
Well, I think, number one, we do need to have security at our schools, just like we have at our banks, for a number of reasons. But anybody that wants to come on a school grounds, the kidnappings that have happened off school grounds, and as young men and women have left the school, that's been a big thing in the last couple of years, especially the kidnapping of young women. So security guard there would be a very good deterrent force. I agree with the Attorney General of Arizona. This should be enacted. You take Connecticut, for example. They had some of the strictest gun laws of any state, but yet we had a crazed individual, a sick individual, who attacked the school there and killed so many. So it's not a gun problem. It's a problem with the culture in the United States, and also all the gamers and all the videos and movies that are coming out of Hollywood and other high-tech areas. These have to be looked at too, because the gamers, especially if they're a little sick of mind, would tend to exacerbate all of that and then may go get a gun or a knife or a bomb or something and try to kill as many people as they can. So I think that's the basic problem. It's just not it's not a gun problem.
All right, let's turn to the Hagel nomination. President Obama recently announced the nomination of former Senator Chuck Hagel for Defense Secretary. His nomination has been criticized by many in the Republican Party. What do you make of his nomination?
Well, I look at it from the standpoint, is he qualified? And if you look at the past secretaries of defense, just the last two, I cannot see much progress they've made in terms of securing the American people. So I'm looking for somebody that has the wisdom, has the strategic vision and understanding of what the threats are to the United States, to include our borders, to be able to articulate those and to come up with solutions in order to guide the policymakers that we have at the White House, to identify all of those threats verbally that they receive from intelligence sources within the Pentagon and within the Defense Intelligence Agency, and to be able to articulate that to members of Congress and to the American people. I don't think Senator Hagel has been able to do that. I don't think he really understands as a visionary what the threats are. I'm not sure, in my mind, he has a clear understanding of that, because I've never heard him articulate it. So, I don't think he's well qualified. And a retired general who is the head of an intelligence agency I just heard from, and he says he's not qualified to lead America now when it comes to the Defense Department.
The Anti-Defamation League National Director Abe Foxman says that while he respects the president's prerogative, Chuck Hagel wouldn't have been his first choice. The ADL has expressed concerns with the senator's voting record on Israel and Iran and remarks that he made about the Jewish lobby. Do you share his concerns? And along those lines, if Iran were to build a nuclear weapon, are you concerned that a Defense Secretary Hagel would roll over?
Well, I think he would. I think he would pursue the sanctions and the appeasement of a enemy to Israel and an enemy to the United States, not only in their nuclear weapons development program, but also the support of international terrorism, which comes out of Tehran, Hezbollah being one of their biggest proxies. And so I don't think he has a good understanding from, and I don't know Senator Hagel, I've never met him. I do respect him for serving in the country and in Vietnam like I did, but that certainly doesn't qualify him to be a Secretary of Defense in any regard. I think there are more qualified people out there.
Okay, so who would you have liked to see as Defense Secretary?
Well, I would pick something like retired General Tom McInerney, who was Vice Chief of Staff of the Air Force, has served all over the world, who understands contractors, defense budgeting. He understands intelligence, and he would be a very good Secretary of Defense versus somebody brought in from the Senate or Congress that doesn't have that international and national security experience. So that's what we need, and General McInerney would be an outstanding candidate.
General, what does the nomination of Chuck Hagel and the nomination of John Kerry for Secretary of State tell us about President Obama's foreign policy these next 4 years and the course that he's going to take?
Well, I think both of them, and when you listen to their statements and how they view the world, they're part of the naivete of the Obama administration and unqualified people to be in the positions they are. We need people that are operators, that have been out in the field, that understand what's going on, and to be able to put them in a position where they influence not only the policy, but how we use our armed forces. And so with regards to Israel, we have to have somebody that understands Israel is the only democracy in that area right now in the Middle East. And we need to stand by them. We also need to look, I just returned from Syria, Turkey area, and I can tell you there are proxy forces over there that we should be assisting. So we need that kind of forward strategy thinking that's going to make America effective in its foreign policy, at the same time stand by our Constitution and protect American interest.
All right, let's turn to Syria now. On the phone earlier today, you told me that Syrian President Bashar al-Assad is now using chemical weapons on his own people. He, of course, had threatened to use them, but now we're hearing that he's apparently making good on that threat. What can you tell us about this, and what evidence do you have to that end?
Well, we did receive some videos, and I'll try to get them to you. We do know that the Syrian armed forces have been using phosphorus, which is a chemical, in its munitions in the bombing of the cities there. We had video that I viewed last week that I'll try to find for you of a young Syrian boy that was hit with the phosphorus. And, you know, that's a chemical that severely burns the skin and is very fatal in the long run. We also know from the Free Syrian Forces that he has used, to a degree, a spray from the helicopters of chlorine gas. And I did see a video on that as well. So we know he has chemical and biological. We know he may be mixing or will mix sarin gas to disperse by air and on the ground. And he will do that as a last resort as he continues to falter.
Now, President Obama had said that if Assad were to use chemical weapons, that there would be consequences and that Assad would be held accountable. Are stronger measures needed by the international community to oust Assad?
Well, I think Turkey's involved very much in all of the over 200,000 refugees. I don't look at the international community as a community anymore, or the United Nations. I think we have to look at individual countries that'll actually step up and do something. You know, people say the international community, but what does that really mean? Out of all the hundreds of nations, is it just a few in the West? Is it China? Is it just Russia? We know Russia and Iran, for example, are supporting Assad to stay in power, and he's as evil as Hitler as far as killing his people and being capable of using his armed forces against his own people.
Do you believe that the United States needs to step in? I mean, at what point should the U.S., if at all, step in?
Well, having been over there twice, they really don't want troops on the ground. They would like support in terms of humanitarian support, medical aid, food. Having met with 70 commanders of the Free Syrian Army, I can tell you they want a free Syria. They're not radical Islamists. They want a secular type of government. They're very sincere. I felt very comfortable with them. I had an opportunity to meet also with a member of the Muslim Brotherhood. But the Free Syrian Army over there that's controlling most of the opposition are the type of people we would want to support as proxies. And what I mean by that, giving them the aid they need, giving them the ammunition that they need. And we do not have to have troops on the ground, as many people think, when the United States wants to assist. There's a lot of ways we can do this. But we need people, again, as operators at the Pentagon and National Security Council that understand what's going on the ground. You just can't go over and visit at very high levels and expect to know what's going on, because the politicians in all of those countries will tell you what they want you to hear, but not necessarily you won't hear it from the people on the ground, as I had the experience of doing twice this year.
General, last question for you. There's been a growing number of journalists being kidnapped in Syria. I know that you personally have been involved in attempting to rescue some of them, including American Austin Tice. Do you have any updates on him or his whereabouts, and is the U.S. government doing enough to rescue journalists there?
No, the United States government is not. They're trying to track, I know, through Jordan and through Turkey, through our agency operations out of Istanbul. But as far as attempting any rescues, we know the Free Syrian Army just reported to us that a British and a French citizens have just been shot and perhaps killed. We're trying to get verification on that. But the kidnapping is going up, especially on journalists and film crews going into Syria and being held hostage. So those are the things that we have to look at now, of how we can get over there and even assist. You know, we put the batteries over there on the ground, the anti-aircraft missile batteries, as you've heard, like the Patriot missile, to cover the airspace over there. Now, whether they'll just sit there or they'll do anything. Assad's air forces and helicopter forces, supported by Iran and Russia, are still creating the vast majority of casualties on the ground in cities like Aleppo.
All right, General Paul Vallely, thanks for being with us today.
My pleasure.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.